Hi everyone. I don't know how my camera got up so close, but it is. So I'm just going to continue with this and try to work with that. I'm so glad to be here, and I am starting the journals for my granddaughters. Oops, sorry. And I'm just going to be folding the papers to put in the signatures right now. I don't know how this is going to work out with it so close. I'm just going to look at this a little bit. I just don't think you need such a close-up look on how to fold. I think that this close-up shot happened yesterday at the party for my son's graduation. It was yesterday and not the day before. And we had a great time. It was a total surprise to him. You know, he's been so focused on finishing his course, and the little goof ups between, I don't know who else made goof ups, but I know I did. I didn't know it was supposed to be a surprise, so I mentioned it in front of him. And so that was one goof up. And then I don't know if the children made any. You know, they're young. 6 and 8. 6 and 7. He'll be 8 in August. So it was just lots of people came from church and from the neighborhood. It was a great time. And we were all gathered in the living room, which is where you enter the house. I know that most houses enter through the living room, so at least out here. And yelled, "Surprise!" And he was completely surprised. I'm just glad that me letting the cat out of the bag, how many weeks ago, I don't even know, didn't ruin the surprise, because he said he was completely surprised. And he walked in, and his wife Angela put on a little crown on him. You know, he's very he's a good sport in a lot of different ways, and he just allowed it. This gold crown. He shaves his head because he was early balding was starting for him. So sad. But my uncle had it too. And that's probably where Matt got it, through my my family. So she put a necklace around his neck that said, "You're awesome," or something like that, and then a bead bracelet, and then a medal, like a medal around his neck. So he had all this gear on before he ever really walked into the room, and everybody was just cheering. And then once he got in the room, lots of congratulations were going on, and she had a huge sheet cake there that everyone enjoyed. Costco does a really good job on their cakes, and it said congratulations and his name. So he was then shown the cake. Mind you, there's decorations kind of throughout the living room, family room, and kitchen, and but he doesn't know that yet. So he's just being kind of ushered around. His wife is showing him, where to go, which way next. And so he was then shown to cut the cake. I'm not sure if I'm going to have that this way or how. Not sure. But I'll figure it out. And then he cut the cake, and the kids were all so excited. Everyone brought their children because they have 2 children. So it was noisemakers and all kinds of great stuff. So we had some cake and some, some people had champagne for real and some inexpensive champagne for real, and people like me had sparkling apple cider that fits for champagne, and cake. And then the children, one of their friends, 17-year-old daughters, is a lifeguard. So then all the kids got their bathing suits on, and they went in the backyard, and the adults could hang out then inside the house where it was cool. And the kids swam for a little while. And we all visited. It was great. It was just great. There was family there, from nieces and nephews to his sister and brother-in-law and their daughter. So it was just a great time. So there we go. I'm ready for 2 journals. I just want each journal to have 1 signature, and I may add some jelly printing and some other kinds of papers. But for now, I'm ready for that. And then I have a couple of, this is junk mail, so it's glossy, and there's this flip out, and then there's this trifold. It's great. And I would like to, let's see if I can find the sand block that I use. I forgot to get that out, unprepared, of course. See if I can put my hands on it real quick. Oops, that was near disaster. There it is. This is the little sand block that I use, brought in from the garage. And I want to keep track of my time. Sorry, I imagine that's making things shake. And what you want to do is just create some lines and scratches in the glossy. It'll produce a little bit of dust, I guess you could call it. And kind of just take the glossy edge off this part. So there we go. And I have my homemade gesso here. And I just like to have my brush damp when I start in. And this is the long-handled one. So note to self, be careful. And the thing I like about this gesso is that it's smooth. You know, it creates a, I'm not sure what to call it, a texture of sorts over the whatever you're putting it on. And when it dries, you can write on it, but it's not so gritty as some of the other gessos that I have used. So I really like it. And you can make it just as thick as you want. If you make it too thick to begin with, you know, go for the thickest. And then you can always thin it down. You can't take away water once you put water in, but you can always put more water in. So go for the, I have a goober. I hate goobers. So I'll let that dry before I do the other side, although that would give it even more texture. Keeping track of time. I lost track of time last time, and it was almost a disaster, but it worked out fine. So then after a while, the kids came in from swimming, and Angela had some veggie trays and more or less like snacks, chips and hummus and dip and different kinds of yummy things to eat and snack on after swimming, after the kids were swimming and after we were visiting for those little while. So it was great. Everybody had a great time. My son was completely surprised, and that was the best part. And if he wasn't, he did a good job of faking surprise, because he was he looked very surprised. So it was great. I think that he felt well celebrated, and no one has mistakenly forgotten to congratulate Angela to his wife. You know, she protected his, like he said online, she protected his study time. The kids missed him terribly, and it was hard for them to have him in the room, sort of locked away and studying during that time. And it was just hard on all of them. And then he had the classes that he took that were face-to-face with the teacher and the other students there. You know, that took him away for sometimes a week. I'm not sure if they actually had 2 weeks away at some point in time, but that's possible. So it's been 2 years. It's been a long 2 years. What he has is the equivalent to his master's degree and more. And in the long run, he received his bachelor's degree and then started a really successful real estate business in Colorado. And then 9/11 happened, and he went to school under a special, I don't know what to call it, a special degree for kids to go to school, and then they give back by serving active service. I just need to put this aside for a moment and check my time. And it's 19, so that's great. This is not quite dry, but it'll give it extra texture, which is what Lori Marie Jenkins always says. So after he was through with a business degree in college, he was in the Army for 4 years. And during that time, he spent some time in Korea and lots of time in New York at Fort Drum. And while he was in Korea, his younger brothers his younger brother and sister went with me to visit him, and so it was awesome. They got to experience a foreign country. I got to see my son. And I loved Korea. And Matt made a lifelong friend in Jay. So Jay has been here to visit a lot of times. I don't remember how many times. He's just a dear friend. He calls me Mom. So there we go on that. And I think I'm going to let that dry now before I do more to these couple of things. I have some cutouts from that old encyclopedia that I got from Diane Shaw. And so I'm looking forward to using those. And I'm just gonna put some more gesso down on these. I put things away too quickly. So I'm kind of anxious to use those collaging things. I've collected quite a bit of ephemera for the journals, and I'm really looking forward to using it all. So these could be tuck spots in those, or not spots, but tuck cards in those cards I just started preparing for collaging. And all kinds of stuff. You can use all kinds of stuff for journals. Or putting in ephemera. My granddaughters have been around me long enough to know. And at one point, Stacy Whitehouse sent them journals. It was so sweet of her, so sweet of her. She loved it. They loved her getting her journals and working in them and putting the things in them that she included. So sweet. Thank you, Stacy, for that. Your name is a familiar name around here. Okay, so there we go. That one's curling up. That's okay. It'll survive. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I will talk to you later.